Welcome to The Read Along,
a mini book club for your ears.
I'm your host, Scott.
I'm your other host, Anita.
And join us on a journey through a good book,
one chapter at a time.
Do you like talking about movies? Do you like talking about mediocre movies? Do you like talking about how you could have fixed mediocre movies? Well, I certainly do, and you can listen to me, Scott C. Bourgeois, along with my co-hosts Greg Beaver and Liam Creswick, as we give our notes, and I have some notes. You can follow it now on your podcatcher of choice, or support it by visiting patreon.com/IHaveSomeNotes. So it was Nita's birthday.
It was.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
And while it was Nita's birthday, she took a couple days of well-deserved rest.
Thank you. It was.
Yes.
Well, I shouldn't say well-deserved. I should say heavily required.
Yeah, because of the overnight casinos you worked immediately on the end of finishing your show.
Yeah.
Which made for a couple busy months.
I was super tired.
Yeah. So you treated yourself to a few days off.
Yeah, and some naps. I treated myself to naps.
Yep. And then we had a bit of a long weekend as well.
It was great.
And today, at the time that we're recording, you went back to work properly.
Yes.
For the first time in weeks.
For the first time in weeks. And I was so tired. I was just out of it. It was really hard to get back into the swing of things.
It's first day back syndrome. Yeah, where you've been off for a while and then your first day back is pretty much a write-off because you're still mentally kind of elsewhere.
Yeah. Well, and my day job is in an office. So I spent, 99% of my day checking email.
Yeah.
And catching up on all the emails that I missed for the week and some that I was off. Woo!
It's just like coming back from summer vacation.
Yeah, kind of.
Or you take some time off over the holidays and then you go back and it's just like, I'm not mentally here now.
I am not prepared for this.
No,
at all.
I totally get it. Been there, but
yeah, that's the kind of day I had
It
today.
is what it is. And now we're recording.
Yeah, which I'm much happier about, actually.
Indeed. So I guess we'll kind of get into the swing of things then.
We should, yes.
With a brief recap of our previous chapter, chapter 5, in which 13 takes the secretary and dumps her in the boot of the car.
Just tosses her in the trunk.
Then sees a weird face, maybe, possibly, but that could be the tired because she is very tired.
Very tired. Like deliriously tired.
Yep, makes her way to the home of the next target, a portrait who is an artist, or at least a hobbyist.
Yeah.
Living in a loft in a different part of town, in a walk-up, makes their way up a rickety, fiery escape, gets in through the skylight when the artist sees her and invites her in.
Via the skylight.
Has some dinner and then, fully crashes on the couch.
Passes right out.
And that is where we find ourselves as we get into Chapter 6, The Lovers of 13 Ways to Kill Lulabelle Rock by Maud Woolf. So 13 awakens on the couch, kind of languishes in the awakening, actually.
Yeah, this is what sleep feels like.
Yeah, because she has never actually slept before. The first time she woke up, quote unquote, was when she, attained consciousness after having been decanted from a vat.
Yeah, basically. To be fair, she's been alive, this is her second full day?
Maybe 24 hours.
Yeah.
At this point.
This
is a wonderful moment. And she has a weird thought in this moment where she's like, it's nice to imagine that this is my first day and I haven't done anything wrong. And then has to catch herself and is like, but I haven't done anything wrong, right?
Well, it depends on who you talk to, I think.
Yeah.
Right? It's sort of that morally gray.
Well, she's still
area.
operating with the kind of ingrained belief that it's perfectly fine to be killing off all these portraits, but it's clear that that's weighing on her, especially because of the weird dream she had, where the corpses of her victims were literally weighing on her.
Right?
Yeah.
This is a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Little psychoses there for you.
Yeah.
Whee!
She discovers that Hobbybelle took off her shoes in the middle of the night.
Well, because sleeping in shoes is uncomfortable. We all know this.
And Hobbybelle is there and is like, hey, I rewarmed your coffee, and also, would you like me to make you an omelet? And 13 is like, I seem to recall that omelets are the one thing Lulabelle knows how to cook. So yes.
Because it's hard to screw up an omelet.
Yeah.
Probably.
And that's kind of what happens.
So yeah, they have breakfast together.
Yeah, they have a little breakfast together. The omelet turns out to be very tasty, actually. And they kind of discuss a couple things. They discuss art a little bit. They discuss the tarot, because 13 kind of gets excited to tell Hobbybelle about
the Hierophant.
And also about like the death card.
Yeah, the whole tarot thing is fascinating.
And to her credit, Hobbybelle seems kind of interested in it.
Yeah.
And in fact, is it just me? Was I reading into it, or was there like a little bit of a spark flying here?
I mean, maybe.
Because 13 started to get like weird butterflies almost around Hobbybelle.
But I can't tell if that's like affectionate attraction or genuine intrigue, because the Hobbybelle is different.
Very different.
From all of these other portraits that we've encountered so far. And I know things are about to go off the rails when we meet the next portrait. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? Like, this one has a lot of freedom to do whatever. And whereas 13 was created with a very specific purpose.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose Hobbybelle was also created with a very specific purpose, but has a lot of leeway within that.
A lot of latitude.
Yeah.
A long leash.
Yeah. It's a good way of putting it.
Hobbybelle even reads some terrible poetry to her.
It is like Douglas Adams' level of bad poetry.
Yeah, Love is a Fish.
Oh, what a beautifully terrible poem.
Yeah, and 13's like, do you even know what love is? And the artist is like, I don't know.
Yeah, how would she know if she knows, you know?
There's this whole, again, and this might be feeding into that thing that I'm reading into, but there's this whole little connection between the two of them in that moment where Hobbybelle and 13 are both like, oh, neither of us have ever been in love. Sigh. Long look at each other.
If only there was someone here for whomst I would love.
This is around the time that 13 also kind of like tries to distract herself by looking out the window and notices a strange man lingering outside. This guy wearing a red baseball cap and sunglasses, and he seems kind of familiar to her, but she can't quite put her finger on it.
Right.
Is this the angry face she saw the other night?
I don't know.
Is this the superfan from a few nights ago?
I don't know.
Maybe following her? I don't know either.
Honestly, it could also just be nothing.
It could be nothing.
It's probably not, because why would you mention it? But, like, it could.
Yeah,
be nothing.
My guess is that it is something.
Probably.
That someone is following her.
Why else bring it up?
Indeed. And I mean, it wouldn't even be beyond Lulabelle to send someone to follow her, to keep an eye on her, right?
Right. Lulabelle doesn't seem to trust lots of her portraits.
Nope. As we will discover
very soon.
Very soon. At any rate, this is the point where 13 also decides that she does not want to kill Hobbybelle today.
No.
And kind of comes up with an excuse not to.
Right? Because the artist, as 13 is calling her, Hobbybelle as I call her, she's not done her current work.
Yeah, so 13's just like, well, how much longer will it take for you to be done your current project? And Hobbybelle's like, oh, maybe another day or so. It just needs really another coat of paint. And 13's like, well, then how about I come back later then and we'll finish things off then. And then you can be at least done your current project. And Hobbybelle's like, oh, okay, if that works for you, that's fine.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how they part ways for now.
Mm-hmm.
13 also realizes, like, halfway down the road in a few minutes that she left the tarot deck behind.
Yeah.
Giving herself yet another excuse to go back.
Yeah, on the one hand, an excuse to go back. On the other hand, her tarot deck.
But
she liked it.
At least she can be confident it's in relatively safe hands.
It is. Yeah. I would argue it's in good hands.
As she makes her way down to her car, she notices that her binder has been left out, and she does not remember having done that the night before. Now, granted, she was very tired.
Very tired.
But this also seems
deliriously
suspicious.
Tired.
Yeah,
but
coupled with the mysterious man lurking nearby.
This is sus.
This is kind of sus, yeah. Mm-hmm. But she flips over to the next target. And the next target is the previously named Prudence, who Spencer mentioned.
Yeah.
And she's off living in the suburbs and apparently has quite the dossier. Like almost as thick a dossier, actually possibly a thicker dossier even than Hobbybelle did.
Yeah, with lots of angry notes.
Yeah, apparently she has a husband, she has kids, she's living in the suburb, and Lulabelle hates her with the fiery passion of the sun.
Now, this is fascinating to me because it is such a strong indication of just how broken Lulabelle is.
I think it might be an indication of something different.
I
but
know.
I do want to hear what you have to say.
I know. We had a little pre-discussion about this, and we will get further into the weeds, I'm sure. The premise is that Prudence is like a specially altered portrait to be ridiculously lifelike.
Yep, she
right?
can bleed. She
has the lines.
lines on her hands. Yep.
Yeah, made to be as close a replica as absolutely possible.
Almost suspiciously human.
Yes, freakishly so. Because she is married to Lulabelle's childhood sweetheart.
Yeah, her high school sweetheart.
Basically. A
Yep.
guy named John. They have 2 children, adopted, but still.
But because portraits can't have children.
Yes.
As biologically functional as they appear to be, that is not one thing they can do.
Yeah, exactly. And he has been assured that she is the real Lulabelle and that the portrait is the actor. We have information otherwise. At this point, I genuinely don't know which one of those is right.
Yeah, because Prudence seems very human.
So, but Prudence has this paranoia that Lulabelle is sending people to check on her, like spying on her, checking up on her, super, super jealous of her. If Prudence is right, and that is true, then how broken is Lulabelle to not want this man that she, quote-unquote, loves, but also not enough to let him be with somebody else? She would rather give him a fake version of herself than let him go.
And then be super jealous of that fake version.
And then be super jealous of that fake relationship, or that real relationship with a fake Lulabelle.
Super envious, I suppose. Yes.
Yeah, let's be correct. That this portrait that she made for this purpose is actually having the life.
Yeah, that is very strange.
Right? So broken.
She turns up at Prudence's suburban house, notices a person that she thinks she recognizes, another famous actor, living like down the street.
Yeah,
Which
someone
gets-
she was in a movie with once.
Yeah, which gets brushed off as, could be a portrait, could be him slumming it, just hiding out in the suburbs. A lot of people hide out in the suburbs,
Yeah,
like herself.
apparently.
Prudence is also kind of brusque and angry about this. Like, she knows, obviously, why 13 is there. She invites her in for iced tea. She goes off on a tirade about how Lulabelle, like, doesn't trust her and is constantly following her or has eyes following her everywhere. 13's just very off-put by all of this.
Well, yeah. Rightly so.
Prudence then turns to discussing the main reason she doesn't want to be murdered is because she doesn't want her family to forget about her. She doesn't want them to move on.
Yeah. Major red flag number 2, that Lulabelle is super broken. She is not concerned for her husband or her children and their well-being. She is concerned about her standing with them.
Yeah.
And her memories preserved in her family.
Well, that almost speaks to Lulabelle's original decision to make a portrait to be with him, too, because she couldn't bear for him to not be with her.
Yeah.
And so now this portrait, Prudence, is concerned that he would not be with her. It's a continuation of that same kind of thread,
so
right?
terribly self-absorbed and so horribly broken. It's just sad.
Mm-hmm.
Again, assuming that it's all true.
Yeah.
Assuming that Prudence isn't just paranoid.
Yeah, it's only paranoia if it's not actually happening.
It's true.
And it could be. 13 tries to talk Prudence into being more accepting of what's about to happen. And is like, look, here's what we do. We murder you in an enigmatic way. We make it such an unsolvable mystery, an impenetrable cipher that people will be puzzling over your death for decades. It'll haunt your family. They'll never be able to stop thinking about you and the mysterious way you died. And Prudence is like, I could get behind this.
Yes, I like that. Being remembered forever.
And so she goes about working with 13 to come up with this, like, escape room style puzzle.
Yeah,
Yes.
she goes through her closet to find the right outfit.
Yeah.
Right? She's got props. They're deciding on a pose.
Mm-hmm.
It's bonkers.
And just as they get set to do the deed, Prudence is like, what's that over there? And then pulls a knife.
Yes.
And actually tries to defend herself.
So for the first time, we are encountering a portrait
Who does not want to die.
definitely does not want to die.
Yeah. I mean, 13 totally kills her.
Sadly, yes.
Yeah. And makes quite a mess doing it because, again, she can bleed.
Yeah.
Which, suspiciously so.
Gross.
Then actually has a moment where she catches herself and is like, was she always planning to do that this whole time and was just looking for an opening? Or was this like a last-minute fear response?
We don't know. I don't know. That occurred to me, too.
Yeah.
Like, was she planning on this the whole time? Was this whole thing, like, to throw 13 off so that she could defend herself?
Yeah.
Or was she just trying to make her death extra dramatic? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's the former. I think she was genuinely trying to survive.
I will say I've skipped over a few things here because I'm putting pins in them, and we're going to circle back to them just a little bit. So if it seems like I've missed over a couple plot points, bear with me. We're going to get back to that. 13 then heads back to the car where she immediately gets called by Lulabelle.
Yeah.
Who obviously knows where she is because the car is almost certainly being tracked.
Oh, 100%.
And is like, did you do it? And 13 is like, yep. And she's like, good, because I hated her.
So broken.
Yeah. And then is like, look, I also know you probably spoke with Spencer. If he tried to sell you on this whole living doll museum thing of his, understand, I would never do that to any of you. Like that's completely against anything.
It's not okay.
She would rather have them be killed than be put on permanent display in a museum. And 13's like, yeah, that makes sense. Sure. No problem.
Yeah, of course. Uh-huh.
Also, Prudence here mentioned that she was one of the first of the portraits to be made, and Lulabelle's like, yeah, she would get ahead of herself like that. She's actually the second one that was made. And 13's like, oh, well, which one was the first? And Lulabelle pointedly doesn't have an immediate answer.
Yep.
Gives a hand-wavy response. Oh, maybe it was that artist. I get you all mixed up all the time. And then abruptly changes the subject.
Yeah, abruptly.
And that's where we're going to circle back to a few things. So, number one, in Prudence's house, there's a shrine to Lulabelle.
Oh, yes. A creepy one in the closet.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it's not John's.
Probably not.
No, I'm pretty sure that it's actually Prudence's.
Probably.
Because she is super jealous of Lulabelle.
Yep.
The way that Lulabelle is super envious of her.
Yes.
Because they both got something the other wanted.
Yep.
Prudence is envious that Lulabelle got to pursue her dreams of stardom. Mm-hmm. And Lulabelle is envious that Prudence got to be with the man of her dreams.
Yep.
Also, Prudence is Lulabelle's real name.
Yep.
And Prudence does not have plastic surgery that makes Lulabelle look like Lulabelle. She has, and I quote, our original nose.
Yes.
Which means Prudence was made as a portrait before Lulabelle had the plastic surgery.
Yes.
Which speaks to her being an early portrait, and also speaks to Lulabelle's lie about the artist being the first portrait.
What? Okay, hold on. We don't know exactly how portraits are made. It's possible that she was still made after the plastic surgery, but was unaltered to match the plastic surgery.
I don't necessarily know that that's the way it works.
I don't know if that's the way it works either. I'm just positing a theory. A hypothesis, if you will.
Yeah, I think that this speaks to Prudence having been forked off of the original Lulabelle before the surgery.
It would make sense.
Which would point to her being perhaps the first, or at least maybe the second.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads me to believe that the Lulabelle who set all this in motion, the actress sitting in the mansion, is the first portrait.
It's possible.
And that raises the question, where's the original Lulabelle?
We don't know.
Is she dead? Was she replaced? Was she Prudence, the suspiciously human portrait?
I don't know.
I don't
know. You're right. It raises all of these questions, and I don't know the answer to any of them.
I feel like Lulabelle made a deal with the devil, in this case Spencer, who signed off with mitosis on this plan in order to allow her to do both the things she wanted to do. Pursue stardom and be with the man of her dreams. And she created 2 copies of herself to do those things.
But then where's the original?
There's the big question.
And why isn't the original doing any of that?
There's the big question. Unless neither one of them know who the original was.
Oh, that's possible.
Because we have reason to believe that the Lulabelle, the actress, is also human. But she could also just be another high-quality portrait.
Yeah.
And then neither of them might know who the real portrait was.
That's messed up.
They might have both been told, you're either the real one or you're the portrait. It doesn't matter which one's the real one. And then they both grew to resent each other.
Yeah.
Because the other one got something the first one didn't.
Yeah.
This is all hypothesis. We haven't read further ahead to know the truth.
We might be way off.
But
we frequently are.
How messed up would it be if that was the case?
So messed up. That's so messed up. Like, what is wrong with a person to do that? To create 2 versions of yourself so that you can be happy, and then you get none of those things, and then you get so unhappy.
And then you get miserable.
Right?
Because you don't have what the other version of yourself got.
This book is a fascinating exploration of, like, all the pieces of one's self.
Yeah. Now, again, this is all speculation.
Oh, 100%.
We don't know for sure.
It's what we do best.
But we'll have to wait and see if maybe it's true. What we do know is mitosis is on the way, and 13 is advised to get out of Dodge quickly because they are unhappy with what's going on. And 13 is like, but you told me that this was perfectly fine. And Lulabelle's like, yeah,
mostly.
Kinda, if you squint.
If you look at it the right way.
Yeah, apparently, no, not so much.
This is not great.
Lulabelle's not being entirely honest with 13.
You don't say.
Which, I mean, we kind of already surmised from the way Spencer was being sort of cryptic about everything.
Incredibly dodgy.
Yeah. So that's where that is. So maybe we'll find out more of who's who and who might be the real Lulabelle, if there is even still a real Lulabelle.
Yeah.
As we move into Chapter 7, The Chariot, which you'll want to read up on in time for next week. In the meantime, of course, as always, you can give us a little rating and a review on your podcatcher of choice.
Absolutely. We'd love that.
Yeah, you can also reach out to us on the social media.
Oh, 100%. So we are on Instagram, Facebook, Goodreads, and Blue Sky. Had to check the list. We are at The Read Along on most of those.
Yes, you can also reach out to us via email.
Oh, absolutely. You can find us at thereadalong@gmail.com.
And with that said, as always, we love you very much, and we'll see you next time.
What would the chariot mean?
Thank you for joining us on The Read Along with your hosts, Anita and Scott Bourgeois. All Read Along music is by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com. Cover art is by Aaron Beaver. Be sure to join us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at The Read Along, and check out our group on Goodreads.com.